Over the weekend, former President Donald Trump did a rally in Alabama, and during that rally, one of the speakers, Representative Mo Brooks, decided to bring up the 2020 election, and that made the hogs go absolutely wild in not a good way. Take a look.
In 2022, beat them in 2024.
Now, you might be wondering, why are they so mad? Well, before that, Trump had said that, Mo Brooks had said this about the 2020 election, quote, "There are some people who are despondent about the voter fraud and election theft in 2020. Folks, put that behind you. Put that behind you." Yes, look forward, beat them in 2022, beat them in 2024. So apparently that crowd, as you could see, not exactly feeling it for Mo Brooks right there, and what he was saying. Boo reality, boo, I hate facts, factual information, boo, stop telling me the truth. My feeble MAGA brain cannot handle it. This is the most, look, understand, these are the most sore losers I have ever seen. And look, I thought the I'm with her people were bad. Because they were. At not letting go, but wow, holy shit. Hillary stands never tried to overthrow an election. And they're still not talking about it. Like, here's the thing, right? It's been almost 9 months since January, since Biden actually took office. The butthurt from Trump supporters is in a league of its own. It really is a very, very special group of people. The most special kind of people, the greatest people, the most tremendous people. Yet, of course, unfortunately for Mo Brooks, understands he's got to pander because he needs them to win an election. Brooks, as we all know, is running for an Alabama Senate seat in the upcoming 2022 election. But if voters don't show up because they're convinced that the system is rigged against them, well, that doesn't actually bode well for his chances. It turns out the now omnipresent specter of widespread voter fraud, fake voter fraud, by the way, is basically starting to be a drag on Republicans. Who could have seen that one coming? Where before, voter fraud, understand, was used to great effect, and still is, in order to pass laws that basically prevent black people from in the South from voting. I mean, that was the whole point of saying, oh, voter fraud, there's so much voter fraud. So now let's do something completely unrelated to voter fraud that's going to prevent black people from voting. Because that's always been their entire problem, is black people voting. And everything they've been trying to do using that cover of voter fraud is simply for that. Yeah, because black people and everyone else who's not an incredibly white, suburban, rich Republican votes for Democrats. Now, anyway, the hogs, and this is what's unfortunate for, Republicans here, are actually starting to believe in that rhetoric and then saying, well, what's the point? What's the point of voting if it's all already rigged, and if it's a voter fraud? What are you going to do? What? And of course, that also leads to another unfortunate, even more unfortunate reality, where some Trump supporters will be like, well, voting's not going to work, so now we have to do violence. And that's the other problem. Let's do, let's do violence now. So everybody get your guns, and here's what we're going to do. Because again, they already tried marching on the Capitol, and the Capitol building, and got inside the Capitol building. And so this is a problem. This is a problem. Now back to Mo Brooks. Mo Brooks understands that he had lost the crowd, and so he had to come back and basically say this.
Arizona recount is coming. The Arizona audit is on the way. Fix it now. Fix it now.
All right, so basically said, let's do it. The Arizona recount is coming. The Arizona audit is on the way. And then, of course, you heard the chants of fix it now, fix it now. Yeah, it's funny because he mentions Arizona, right? The Arizona audit, which by all counts is an utter clown show. Honestly, to Arizona, it's coming, right? No, it's not. No, Arizona is a complete and utter shit show. It's not going to prove anything. Nothing at all. But here's the thing. You love the back pedal. You got to see it, right? Because the truth accidentally came out. He needs electoralism to win. He needs the votes to win. And so he's got to get the hogs out to vote. And so he's going to be like, well, just forget about 2020. Forget about the voter fraud. I mean, it totally happened. But forget about it and go out and vote. And they're not having it. They're not interested at all. And so he's got to self-correct. Almost immediately following that rally, Brooks had a tweet clarifying that, of course, he believes the 2020 election was fraught with fraud and election theft on a massive scale. It's massive. Backpedal. That thing I said, oh, totally don't agree with that at all. Nope, agree with you 100%. Please vote for me. The pandering here is sickening, but understand this is a pattern from the right. This is how Republicans understand, are able to get people to believe in insane things because they don't push back on it. They pander so hard to the most insane voters because they think, well, those are the people that are going to show up. Those are the people that are going to show up the most, so I'm going to pander the hardest to them. And so when you have your elected officials and you have supposed reputable news outlets, supposed, right? Or gigantic cable outlets like Fox News, for example, pushing this garbage, this nonsense, people think, well, it's on TV, it must be legit. And again, by people, I mean mostly older Republican, or more conservative voters, low information voters, which is the target demographic for Fox News. So they got to pander. They got to pander to those people and never push back. Because if they do push back, we already saw what happened with Dan Crenshaw, right? They're going to get roasted or canceled, if you will, and in a lot of cases fade out into obscurity. And none of them understand that none of these people, aside from your Marjorie Taylor Greenes and, of course, Donald Trump, whose ego is literally wrapped up in this entire thing, me losing, it can never happen. No, it never can happen. They actually believe in this. And, of course, the pillow guy. But I'm talking about more politicians that are in office that don't actually believe this. And they go along with it anyway. But again, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of those true believers. Trump is a true believer because his ego won't let him to not be. But again, regular conservative politicians, they don't believe in this stuff. They have to. Some of them have to, in order to pander to their voters, to these voters, to keep them. And now the obvious question here for a lot of people is, just why don't you appeal to other voters, to like different voters, and be honest with your constituents. And sure, if it loses you some crazies, that's totally fine, because you can actually pick up more people. And the country is more progressive than it is conservative. There are more progressive people, and there are actually, populist things that the right wing could actually do to get more voters. But unfortunately for them, they got to continue to pander hard and so they don't go after those better voters, because understand that, like, the Republican Party as it is, their time is numbered. The United States is becoming more diverse and more progressive. And again, why not try to appeal to them? Because this slice of voters, understand, the slice of voters that believes in these conspiracy theories that they're pandering to, well, they're not going to notice if they're believing in these crazy conspiracies. They're not going to notice you picking their pocket. If they think you're out there battling Satan incarnate as a politician, then they don't care that you're going to vote against an infrastructure bill that your donors happen to oppose. But that infrastructure bill would actually help you and your community. And that's what's important. They think, well, Satan wants the Democratic infrastructure bill, so, we can't be in favor of that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she had a part in crafting this bill that, would raise my wages, but she's Satan, she's the devil, she's a socialist, and so we can't support that. We can't get anywhere near that. Nothing we can do. And so this is why people keep voting Republican, even while it's against their own personal and financial interests. You have the conspiracies, you have the wedge issues, you have reactionary team politics, which sadly, of course, Republicans aren't the only ones that are susceptible to that. Understand. And then, of course, conservative media that is disinformation for cash and clicks. And conspiracies do incredibly well online, on Facebook, on YouTube, despite the fact that they've been cracking down on that. So this is why for most of us, for most on that side, we're not going to get through to them. We're just not. But we can mobilize to outvote them. And of course, there are significant issues to get over, of course, voter suppression in a lot of places. That is a very significant issue. Voter apathy, too. Keep it real, right? Democrats actually absolutely have to do a better job at getting out the vote and getting people out to the polls and actually getting people excited to get out. Because you can't just rely on, well, that guy's crazy. Yeah, but after a while, that argument starts to not work anymore because look at what the last 4 years of Trump did. We're now kind of used to it. We're used to insanity. And so, that's why that's never really a good argument. What's a better argument is doing something that's positive, and that is going to actually help. But anyway, yes, we can mobilize to outvote people. We can, and the best way to do that, or I should say the best reason for that, is so that we can take away the political power of the crazies so that they don't affect our lives in a negative way. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.